Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Conor Benn scored his second overseas victory, this one against Peter Dobson. He won a unanimous 10-round decision. Was it 12-round decision or 10? I can't remember. I know the rounds were very repetitive. Well, anyway, he won a decision over Peter Dobson, who was previously undefeated. And, you know, people had things to say about Ben. You know, I did a review of the fight. Ben was his usual flashy, extremely fast, snappy, sort of punching, real sharp shooting punching, but not much power. I wonder where the power's gone. What do you think? Should we have a guess? But that victory means that as far as the WBC are concerned, he retains his standing in their top 10. Now, Ben, I think I'm right in saying Ben is not ranked in any of the other organisations. The WBO, the WBA and the IBF don't rank him. So if he wants to go for a world title, it's the WBC or nothing at the moment anyway. That may change. Now, the champion is, of course, Terence Crawford. Don't even think of putting Ben in with Crawford. Crawford would stand him on his head. I don't really see Ben lasting more than 4, 5, 6 rounds at the most with Crawford. Crawford will end it when he wants to. Crawford will certainly outbox Ben, and Ben would just be. It would be like watching, you know, the young Canelo against Floyd Mayweather, where he almost quit because out of just like, what the hell do I do with this guy? Not because he was hurt or anything. He just thought, oh my God, you know, you remember that bit in the fight where Canelo had Mayweather on the ropes? He just couldn't land a punch, and he was like, he almost turned his back and said, "Oh, the hell with this." It would be like that, I think. And on it, Crawford against the current incarnation of Ben. Virtually a mismatch, Anyway, what I thought I'd do was I'd look at the top 10, the WBC top 10, and go through the potential matchups and see what we think about Ben in with those fighters. So Crawford's champ, will push him to one side. Believe it or not, the number one contender in the WBC is a Canadian called Cody Crowley, who you may or may not have heard of. He's 30. He's a southpaw. I think he's based in Vegas, but he is from Canada. He's currently undefeated, 22 wins, 9 KOs, no draws, no defeats. He won a majority decision over Abel Ramos. That was about a year ago, maybe a little less, maybe about 10, 11 months ago. Prior to that, he got a unanimous decision over Josesito Lopez. That was in 2022, although Lopez is ancient by now, and I've only seen drips and drabs of Cody Crowley, but I think this would be a good matchup for Ben. I mean, the guy's a southpaw, Crowley this is. I think Ben can beat him, can outwork him, can at the very least outpoint him. He's undefeated. He's got that number one position. So, yeah, if I was on Ben's team, I would be looking to go for Cody Crowley, number one, rightly or wrongly, the number one contender. Then at number two, the second ranked contender, is Sulan Soko of France, 32 years old, orthodox fighter, undefeated, 17 wins, 9 KOs, no draws, no defeats. At the back end of last year, I think it was November, he beat Isaias Lucero, won a unanimous decision. I think he had him over in one of the early rounds, and he picked up the WBC silver welterweight title, which is probably why he's so highly ranked. He also won a unanimous decision over Tulane and Benge. I think that's when he won the silver title. I could be wrong about that. All these sorts of trinkets are flying around, and I think Sissoko's had a few of them. There was a WBA trinket in the mix as well. But anyway, you probably know, or you might know him from when he fought Kieran Conway and won a split decision over Conway. That was over in America. And in fact, Soko was down in the 9th round. So there's a little bit of I suppose you could say, a slight question mark over his chin. He was also down against Robert Valenzuela Jr. when he won a unanimous decision. That was in 2022. So there is a bit of a question mark over this guy's chin. I mean, he's a very sort of come forward pressure fighter. He's got that sort of rather languid style, but does leave himself open. Throws a lot of punches, but again, defensively not that great. And you do wonder about his chin. Yeah, I'd put him in with Ben. I'd put Ben in with him, no question about it. I mean, I think that would be a very good matchup and a winnable fight for Ben. Then at number 3, don't ask me how, because this guy's never even fought at welterweight, is Josh Taylor. How is he at number 3? Well, I don't need to tell you much about Josh Taylor. I would imagine at 147 he'll have a far greater engine, because he's clearly been struggling at 140. I mean, against Teofimo Lopez, the first 3 or 4 rounds, he looked fine. He was doing really well. And then he just ran out of gas. And he was absolutely knackered by about the 6th, 7th, 8th round. So, yeah, I think Josh Taylor, I think Taylor would beat Ben, probably. If Taylor is still ambitious enough, if he's still got that desire, and if he is stronger at the weight, yeah, I definitely think Taylor would beat Ben, but I wouldn't rule Ben out entirely, because we just don't know where Taylor is at the moment in terms of his career. He was never the same. The Catterall fight, he obviously lost that, even though he got the decision. Lopez, where is he mentally? Does he really want to fight anymore, Taylor? I don't know. He's been to the top of Everest, hasn't he, by being an undisputed champ, and now he seems to be on the way down. But you never know. So there's Taylor, and at 4, who have we got? None other than David Avanesian, who got flattened by Terence Crawford. No shame in that. I have always thought that Avanesian, previously, I've always thought that he would beat Ben, probably by knockout. But I don't know. What are the effects of that defeat by Crawford? How much has Avanesian got left? Would I put Ben in with him? Yeah, sure, why not? And the reason I put Ben in with him is because Ben is number 5. He's ranked number 5 currently. Avanesian's 4. It could be a very good eliminator. So, yeah, I got no problem with that. That seems like a pretty good fight. Now, at number 6, we have Jaavan Santillan. Now, this guy, I was shocked when he fought Alexis Rocha, because Rocha was coming off a couple of very, very impressive wins. And at the time was 23 wins, 1 defeat, no draws. Santillan at the time was, I think, 31 wins, 16 KOs. So not a particularly, only just over 50% KO percentage, no draws, no defeats. But a lot of people thought Rocha was going to smash this guy to bits. The opposite was true. Santillan dominated Rocha, beat him up, and then knocked him flat. Rocha was down twice in the 5th and once in the 6th, and he was finished by the 6th round anyway. He was running on fumes, and the count was waived. But that was a massive win for Santillan, and he showed real poise, power, self-belief. I don't know who's been hiding that power, but against Rocha, he was a killer. And Rocha, has shown in the past he's a real tough nut. Of course, George Ashe got done in 7 rounds. And Blair Cobbs was his big coming out fight. He stopped Cobbs in 9 rounds. This is Rocha I'm talking about. And most people thought, no, he's going to smash through Santillan. He didn't. Jaavan Santillan did to him what people were expecting Rocha would do to Santillan. Santillan is 32, so he's not a young man anymore, but he's not old. But I think this guy's on the ascendancy. And his confidence will be, through the roof, thanks to that win over Rocha. So I would definitely pick him to beat Ben, definitely. And if I was in Ben's team, I'd avoid him. I'd avoid Santillan. At 7, we've got Jamal James. Now, this is a 35-year-old fighter with a glossy record, 28 wins, only 12 KOs, 2 defeats, and one of those is by stoppage and no draws. Now, the stoppage defeat came against Ratsab Batayev, and that was back in 2021, October 2021. He got stopped in 9 rounds. And since then, he's only had 1 fight against Alberto Palmetta, and that was a year ago, almost a year ago, and he won a unanimous decision. Palmetta had an 18-1 record. So Jamal James, you could say, is on the comeback, and he's, like I say, he's 35. He is 6'2", which is tall for a welter. He's based in Minneapolis. Yeah, I would put Ben in with this guy, definitely. I think Ben can beat this guy. And And this guy, at 35, won't have many options. So if they if they dangle a big old financial carrot in front of him, I'd imagine he'd take the Benn fight, definitely. At number 8 in the rankings, we've got Rene Curiel, who was last. He's fought this year already. He fought in January. He fought Elias Diaz and stopped him in 8 rounds. And he also beat Courtney Pennington last September. He stopped him in the 10th and final round. Courtney Pennington is one of those gatekeeper stroke journeyman. Diaz had a glossy record, 12-1. Rene Curiel, the orthodox Mexican fighter, 28 years old, so he's probably in his physical prime, his physical peak. Tough guy. You just never know with these Mexicans, do you? I mean, he stopped Brad Solomon in 2 rounds, which was, again, another gatekeeper type. Pretty good win. No one really springs out at you on his record, but he's got 14 wins, 12 KOs, no draws, no defeats. So Curiel, I think it would be a gamble for Benn to take him on. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me if Curiel won. Again, he's another one I've only seen bits and pieces of, but I would never. If in doubt with a Mexican fighter, especially one who's got 12 KOs in 14 wins, don't bet against him. I'd like to see that fight though. Benn against Curiel. That would be a good fight. That would be a very, very good fight. I could live with that one. Yeah. Like I say, he's number 8. And then at number 9, we've got none other than Cavalis, the old meme machine from Lithuania. Is it Eggigus? I can never pronounce his name. We'll call him Cavalis. What the hell? Anyway, he's 35 now. You probably know about this guy. I mean, he's fought a lot of good guys. He only had 1 fight against the journeyman last year. Prior to that, I think it was October 2022, he had a fight against Mikael Fox, who's a good gatekeeper type, outpointing him over 10. He's 24 wins, 19 are by KO. But both his defeats are stoppages. One's to Virgil Ortiz Jr., that was in 8 rounds. That was back in 2021. And then Terence Crawford stopped him in 9 rounds in a title shot, WBO title shot, and that was in 2019. So he hasn't done a lot lately, not really. And the draw is to Ray Robinson, the guy who drew with Josh Kelly, yeah. But interestingly, Cavalis, if you go way back to 2018, stopped Avanesian in 6 rounds. I always think that's quite an interesting result, because up to fighting Crawford, Avanesian was considered to be, very, very tough, wily fighter. Would I put Benn in with this guy? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 35 years old, orthodox fighter, coming to the end of his career, not been that active, certainly not against good opposition. Benn should definitely get in with this guy, and I think would probably beat him. But you never know with Benn. I don't know about Benn. To me, he's still untested, especially in lieu of other matters. And then at 10, we've got Abel Ramos, who's been around for a long time, 32 years old now. I thought he was older, but he's only 32. Orthodox fighter from the US. I think he's either based or he's from Arizona. He's either based in Arizona or he's from Arizona, or he's based in Pennsylvania and he's from Pennsylvania. It was one or the other way around. Anyway, he actually fought the number 1 contender in his last fight, Cody Crowley. Got outpointed a majority decision over 12. And prior to that, he lost to Luke Santamaria. That was a 10-round decision. And then if you go back to 2021, that was his last win, which was against Omar Figueroa Jr., retirement after 6. And then prior to that, he lost to Yordanis Ugas, a split decision over 12. So he's lost 3 of his last 4. 3 of his last 4 in the last 3.5 years. Yeah. Would I put him in with Benn? Of course I would. He's got 27 wins, 21 KOs, 6 defeats, 1 by stoppage. And I mean, the stoppage was to Regis Prograis back in 2015. That was in 8 rounds. I think he retired after 8 rounds, so you could throw that out really. But yeah, he's coming at the end of his career. I mean, he's got some half decent wins against B-, C+ level fighters, but he's lost to Baranchik and I think Jamal James beat him on points. And so, yeah, stick Ben in with him, no problem. And he's ranked at number 10. So that's the top 10. That's the top 10. What do you think about Ben? Who would you put him in with next? And do you agree with my assessment of who he'd have a chance against? I really think Cody Crowley at number 1. But they should really seek out that fight for Ben. And Soko as well. Those are the two I'd have my sights set on. But you never know, do you? You never know. Because something against like Avanesian, that would be a good eliminator, but it would be like a crossroads fight for Avanesian. And Santillan, avoid him. Curiel, maybe Cavalis is getting past it. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new. You could do that and hit that like button thing as well. It takes a second. But yeah, I appreciate your time. Comments below, I'll read them. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.